I guess I'll start off, like many others have, with some details. I'm 31, male, about 5'9", and 185 pounds. I'm pretty street smart and always aware of my surroundings. I've been living at my current location for over a decade. It's a busy college town known for its football team, partying, and running. It sits next to another smaller town that's known for being low to mid-class income range. It's known for chronic meth use, and for the most part, the joke there is that there's a lot of inbreeding. It was a Friday night, and I was attending a Magic the Gathering tournament at my local card store. It had taken several hours to complete, so we didn't get out until the early morning. The city bus was located across the street from the card store, but the buses, they didn't start running until 6 AM. I had already lost in the third round, and it didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I thought I'd go wait for my bus, seeing as I had about an hour to wait. I really had to take a piss, and the store, it didn't have a public restroom, so I darted across the street to the bus station. The station was closed, but it had an outdoor restroom. I'm normally reluctant on using any form of public bathroom unless it's completely necessary. I find them to be, in most cases, pretty revolting and unsanitary. There wasn't really any traffic on the street anymore, and there were groups of people sparsely littered around. I had been riding the bus ever since I was 13, and I was quite familiar with how notorious the downtown station was in the past. It's always been in the news for a wide array of reasons: stabbings, drug use, prostitution, panhandling, and even a drive-by that didn't kill the intended target, but injured many others. As I crossed the street, I saw a shopping cart with a blanket covering it, and a homeless guy with his dog sleeping next to it. In the distance, I could faintly hear the noise of a fire truck wailing away, followed by an ambulance. The concrete building, it looked like it was made in the 70s. The blue-painted door had been tagged and retagged by the various wannabe gangs that we have here, and it looked like they, the bus company, had simply given up trying to fight the gangs on removing the graffiti. The door was ridiculously heavy to pull, and it felt like it was made of a solid piece of lead. After a slight struggle, I walk in and let the door ominously close behind me with a considerably loud thud. The lights attempted to turn on due to the motion detector, but they more or less kept flickering on and off in a seizure-inducing strobe effect, and they had a rather annoying buzzing noise akin to power lines or a street light. After the lights had stabilized, I surveyed the area. There were 2 urinals and a handicap toilet. I went to go check out the stall and was greeted with more graffiti and random message boards like postings on walls. I also saw a cracked toilet seat, an empty condom wrapper, and what I hoped was piss on the floor, seeing as the seat had a mist on it as well. I like my privacy and all, but I opted with the urinal instead. Just as I'm ready to start peeing, I could hear voices right outside through the window, but I didn't pay it much mind, so I proceeded to relieve myself. A little ways into it, I heard the door lurch open, and I instinctively craned my curious neck to the right to see what it was, and in strolled a white guy with saggy jeans below his boxers. His shirt had holes and rips all over, and looked 2 sizes too small for his frame. His hair was matted down and greasy, with what looked to be a bad case of dandruff or flakes of some sort. He made a beeline to the sink, not noticing that I was there. He proceeded to wash his hands and face while muttering to himself some incoherent ramblings, almost like he was arguing with himself in a lively debate. I'm feeling vulnerable because I'm standing with my back turned away from this guy, trying to force my piss out with heavy breaths so I can get done quicker and get out of there. To my dismay though, the guy gets out of his own thoughts and sees me as he turns around and tries to strike up a conversation. Now an awkward situation, I feel quite defenseless with my back turned to a stranger muttering to himself. I tried to ignore him initially, but he had said hi 2 or more times, and I finally thought that this guy wasn't going to leave me alone. I said hi back, trying to be polite, but trying to concentrate on pissing and getting my junk back into my pants and getting the hell out of there. The guy, I guess I'll call Tweaker, he was done washing his hands and he was just standing there, staring at me quite strenuously, with a stone-like gaze, almost like he was sizing me up or something. He had his hands in his pockets fishing for something, while asking me how my night had been going, and what made me come downtown at this time of night, grilling me with questions. I had told him about the magic tournament I had just got done with, and how they didn't have a bathroom and that I was waiting for my bus. I was pretty sure that my bladder was empty, and I proceeded to shake off the last few drops and zip my jeans, and he said that he was walking home from a party and had to make a quick pit stop. Tweaker was going off on how the party was and what he saw, what drugs he did, how much he drank, and then said some terms I wasn't quite familiar with, and I passed them off as nothing, seeing as I didn't know what they meant. I went over to the sink to wash my hands, and Tweaker, he was still giving me that stare like he was looking through me. I decided it was time to leave and had motioned for the door when Tweaker, still fishing in his pants, he beat me to the door. It looked like he had something in his front left pocket, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. It was rather thin and long, as it left an outline in his pants pocket. He took his hands out of his pockets and touched his nose vigorously like he had a cold. He then proceeds to go back to his pockets and pull out a small nickel bag that had a whitish yellow hue to it. And, I shit you not, he starts snorting right then and there. Tweaker had staggered a bit after his snow job and had shifted away from the door a little bit. I decided that it was time for me to get 50 Shades of Nope out of there, and I pushed my way past Tweaker while he was riding his high and tried pushing the door. It opened, but then it felt like it had hit something. That something had been Tweaker's friend, Leo. Leo was a mountain of a man, a good 250 pounds at least. He was bald, with tattoos on his head, knuckles, and from what I could see, probably a huge chest piece. Leo was clearly alarmed that I wasn't his friend, and I was also startled that there had been someone there. It caught me off guard a little. Two hands had grabbed a hold of me, and Tweaker jerked me back into the bathroom, and the door made the loud thud again as it closed, and I turned around to say, "What the fuck do you want?" and deal with this guy. I could see that Tweaker was completely out of it at this point, with powder and blood in and around his nose. I'm now trapped between him and his friend, who's just opening the heavy door to come in, when Tweaker tells Leo in an almost indistinguishable and incoherent growl,
"Guard the door, and don't let anyone in."
Leo lets the door slam shut again, and I'm freaking out in my mind on how I got myself into this shit, and I took a defensive stance. I'm no fighter by any means, but I can be fairly persuasive and can come off as a smartass due to my passive aggressiveness. But I doubt my words were going to get me out of this situation, or be understood by this psychotic drugged out freak. All I had in my pockets were my keys and wallet, and if it had to come to it, I could use them as a weapon if I had to. Tweaker begins to say that he was sorry for putting his hands on me, but he had a few questions for me. I don't know what to do at this point, other than play along with him. I didn't have any other escape route. Tweaker then said,
"Hey, do you want to buy some stuff? I got extra from a party I just came back from."
He then shot off a list of prescription pills, shrooms, tabs of acid, and oddly enough, he said he had some bath salts. He recalled the party once again, and the cocktail of E and acid he had taken, and how dope the gravity bong hit was that nearly knocked him out from the head rush.
"Nah, man,"
I said.
"I'm good. I don't do drugs." "Oh, too bad. You should at least try the shrooms. You'll trip balls, man, I'm telling you." "No, I'm good,"
I said in a more persistent voice. Tweaker looked pissed at this response and a little put off. But he proceeded to try and push his drugs on me a little harder, telling me how high quality his shit was. And when I told him I don't have any cash on me, and to get lost in a strong intimidating voice, his smile turned to that of a cold malice intent. It was around this time that I could hear Leo outside telling someone to fuck off, and I took this opportunity to yell for help. It was at this moment that Tweaker lunged at me to keep me quiet and slammed me against the wall right next to the door, the back of my head jarred with pain from the impact. He pinned my arms and was so close to me that I saw his face full of terror, his primitive drug-crazed eyes, and he put a finger up to his mouth to make a shushing motion. I fought to get free from the wall and ran, but more like fumbled, over to the stall. Thoughts raced in my mind to get in, and I got in and locked the door. Tweaker is now full on laughing hysterically, borderline psychotic.
"Where are you going?"
he said in a happy tone.
"It's just you and me, and I'm gonna fuck you up."
At this point, there's only two ways into the stall, either from the top or from the bottom. I had thought that I had the high ground on this guy, since I could see where he was coming from. But then, I realized that I had inadvertently trapped myself. Where was I going to go if he got in? How do I get out? I could see him walking around the stall, endlessly pacing like he was stalking some prey. I tried to think of an escape, and the only outcome that I could think of was to try and catch this guy by surprise, and then, somehow, push his fat-ass friend guarding the door out of the way. Tweaker stopped by the door and tried pushing and shaking it violently, which then turned into kicks. My adrenaline is rushing now, but I'm still extremely fearful, not knowing what to do. I'm telling him to fuck off and how he's an asshole, which was not really helping at this point, but he was just laughing away, assaulting the door with barrages of kicks to the stall door, each one shaking the hinges of the door. Each kick seemed to loosen the door's already pathetic deadbolt. It's at this time that Leo had opened the door to see what all the commotion was, and Tweaker joked with him that he had me trapped like a rat, and I think Leo went back out front to guard the door again. I took the opportunity to unlock the door to the bathroom stall very slowly and quietly, while Tweaker and Leo were talking and waiting. About 5 minutes had passed and there had been nothing coming from Tweaker, which I found very odd after the hell he had put me through just moments earlier. Then I heard the sound of chopping and the sink turn on. Then the sound of snorting, and Tweaker was ripped again. He made his way to continue his kicking, while I'd been standing behind the door not making a sound. He stopped at where I assumed was the door, and I pulled all my weight and my shoulder against the door, and flung it open and pushed him out of the way, and he hit the wall to his right while I ran left. I then thought to myself, I still have to deal with Leo outside. And I had to make a rather quick decision because Tweaker, he was now pissed. I quickly pulled out my keys and had them between my fingers, ready to go if Tweaker tried anything. Tweaker, at this point, was now bleeding from his nose profusely because of the door crashing into his face.
"You're going to fucking pay, you piece of shit,"
he kept saying over and over again in an infuriated tone as he slowly made his way over to me. His smile turned into a sinister, bloody grin, showing off his rotted yellow and brown meth teeth as he looked at my improvised weapon.
"Look, I just want to go home. I didn't want any of this today, okay? Just let me fucking go home."
I wasn't sure if any of the words that I was saying were getting through to his dope-induced haze or not, but I thought that maybe I could talk my way out of this.
"Look, I don't have anything of value on me, and I don't have any beef with you."
But he wasn't having any of it. Tweaker simply said,
"Fuck you,"
and went for his pants pocket and seemed to struggle trying to take out whatever it was he was grabbing for. I took the initiative and I rushed him, punching him in the face with my fist with the keys. He tried biting me and gouging me with his free arm in the neck and face, clawing me with his fingers. The fight eventually went to the ground and there was a struggle to get back up on both of our parts. Tweaker got up first and tackled me to the ground and sat on my chest. We were both exhausted, breathing heavily, and he said,
"Fucking got you. I just want to go home,"
I cried, sobbing at this point.
"Oh, don't worry. You're gonna go home alright.
he remarked murderously as he withdrew a syringe that didn't have the cap on it, and it was from his left pocket. It had a brownish, blackish material in it, and he was gripping it strongly in his right hand. I'm in full fight-flight mode now as he drew back the syringe and squirted out some of the tar-coloured contents. He puts his thumb on the plunger and he's about ready to stick it into me. I did the only thing I could think of, and I tried to fight for control of the needle. This went on for about 20 seconds or so of tug-of-war, and it created enough space for me to knee him in the balls. He released the needle and it skidded across the ground towards the door. Tweaker fell over, writhing in pain, and I lethargically sat up and started to kick the crap out of Tweaker. I heard and felt my boot meet his face, ribs, and groin. Having a wave of satisfaction and anger coursing through me now, I stood victorious, jubilated at the fact that he was now finished. Then reality hit me like a semi-truck. Leo was still outside. As luck would have it though, we had been in the bathroom for well over an hour and a half by this point, and there were more people waiting at the bus station, and the guy Leo had told to screw off earlier had informed the workers when they got there about what had occurred, and they had called the cops about a shady looking character not moving from the bathroom. It wasn't really a crime, but they sent a car to check it out. Leo had seen them, and he had already left. When the door creaked open, just after my scuffle with Tweaker, I assumed it was Leo checking in on his friend. Two cops yelled their presence, and I was so relieved to hear those sweet, sweet words. I told them the whole story, and they were able to put video footage from the bus station cameras, along with my account with Tweaker and Leo together. When they ran Tweaker for warrants, he was wanted for a slew of parole charges, and they caught Leo a week or two later. It was in the paper. Leo was a part of a human trafficking and drug running cartel going along the west coast from Canada to Mexico. Needless to say, I didn't go to the bus station in the early hours anymore, and I rarely even take the bus at all now that I have a car. But every time I drive by the station, I do take a quick glance to see the bathroom that ended up being a very bad time for me. G'day mates, it's B-Buster here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video guys. And I guess you could say that when the guy walked into that bathroom, he walked into a very methy situation. Thanks again to the Hive member that bravely shared their story for us here, and I hope you're doing well, mate. For the chance to have your story featured in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always guys, keep them coming as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent, just so that I can be above board with everything. And also remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. As always guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in guys, for all the love and support. Thank you so much as well guys for all of the shares lately. I've noticed that there's been a bit of an increase in the sharing of the videos and stuff, so yeah, thank you guys so much for that. And as always, I'll see you mates in the next one.